This is Graham Norton, and I am now talking to Andrea Riseborough. Hello.
Hello.
So, thank you very much for schlepping in on a Saturday. It's very good of you.
Oh, it's lovely to be here and so high up.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lift and everything.
I mean, it's very quick.
It really is. We're no expense spared. Congratulations, Alice and Jack. It's on Channel 4 in February. And this is yourself and Domhnall Gleeson. And I was saying earlier, it's sort of more than the sum of its parts. Because there's something, it's oddly compelling. And so I think part of that is just how good you are and how good Domhnall Gleeson is. So it's kind of hard for you to talk about. But what can you tell us about Alison Jack?
I suppose the unique thing about it is that it was written by Vic Levin, who's a very successful US television writer. Has had this sparkling career in US TV, and so he was part of shows like Mad Men and Mad About You, things that were really in the zeitgeist, in the cultural zeitgeist, really huge shows. And the script that he'd written was his one personal piece, something he'd lived through, which was very important to him, but he'd not really had the chance to explore. And so I so wanted to be part of making it, and I thought, what would that look like if it perhaps looked almost cinematic? What if this fast-paced dialogue that was so funny, that we're so familiar with, was seen through a sort of different lens? And so we managed to get Juho Kuosmanen, who's a very brilliant Finnish director, to direct, and Hong Kao, and they're both titans of independent cinema. And it really, the result is this very strangely raw, hysterically funny, quite moving thing that you're not very used to seeing, and it has protagonists in it that perhaps you might tend to see more in film than in episodic television.
Yes, you're not used to spending this much time with them.
You're not, and you're not used to how many mistakes they make.
Yeah,
which is, as we all know, very much what love feels like. And so many people, if you're lucky enough to have a real soulmate in your life, or to meet that person that you really feel a kinship with, often that love doesn't live out. I mean, it often looks like many different wonky things, and you don't end up together, or you do, or you orbit each other, but you don't necessarily always manage. Fridge and magnet do not meet.
It also strikes me that it's a particularly kind of urban love story, in that in a big metropolis, you can sort of lose the grip of your soulmate, and then suddenly they're in the washing machine of life.
Yes.
They come around again.
In the very same city, especially in London. I mean, the interesting thing about the show as well is that all of the main characters are in London but not from London. I think that's a very London experience.
No one's from London.
Well, none of us are from London, but we're all very much from London as well. There's that sense of deep loneliness being in this vast city and knowing that somebody else is there. I mean, they live each day in this love story, Alice and Jack, alongside one another mentally, psychologically and emotionally. They're always with one another, and they see the world through the lens of the other as well.
And also, there's something sweet about the beginning, because it's like Jack doesn't quite know what he's getting into.
Has absolutely no idea. See, I really stopped there before I was very effusive with my words, but he has absolutely no idea.
Yeah. He's almost like an innocent abroad.
He is.
And Alice is a lot.
And he's good-hearted, and he has a purity about him, but he's also a character who makes so many mistakes, like we all do, in the mad fallout of love, and lots of other people get hurt through him wanting to really do well and to love this woman. And this woman, Alice, who I play, is, I tire of seeing these almost morally impossibly good protagonists in television shows all the time, and it's wonderful because they're the hero, they're the good guy, and then you have all the archetypes are there. You feel very secure and you're ready to move on to the next episode.
Yeah.
But in this, Alice is like everybody, somebody who's been through the ringer of life in her own way, and she's deserving of love like everyone else. And so it's a love story about two very imperfect people who've been through really some quite difficult things.
And a lot is made on things like this about, the chemistry between the two actors, Is that just kind of nonsense, if you know what I mean?
Well,
or do just good actors get on with it?
No, we just did it, Graham, and then we just CGI'd the chemistry in later.
But like, did you have to kind of meet with Domhnall? Was it a kind of a...
Well, we've known each other for 15 years.
Oh, I didn't
mean,
realise.
The strange thing about the piece as well is it all came together. So I've been working on this for 5 years. I was part of developing it. I've been producing it for a long time. Domhnall's been on it for almost the same time.
Oh, wow.
So it's been something that's very, very near and dear to our hearts for a long time. But he and I first met on a film called Never Let Me Go. We played boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yes.
And then years later, we made a film called Shadow Dancer with James Marsh, and we played brother and sister. As Domhnall says, not creepy. And then I briefly pretended to date his dad in a different thing in the US, because in the US I'm his dad's girlfriend's age.
Of course.
In the UK and Ireland. We're the same age, so I can date him. I'm allowed to date him. So, again, not creepy. And then and we came together for this. So in a strange way, our lives have kind of intersected and moved apart. You know, we've seen each other grow up in the industry, sort of.
Yeah.
You know, but from far away and then very close.
Yeah.
At different times, which is a similar relationship to Alison Jack's, really.
Well, you are both so brilliant in this show, and you're saying though that it's kind of it's rolling out across the world. This show.
It is. It's going to be all over the world, which is kind of an incredible thing. It's a very intimate love story. It's weird to think of Alison Jack all over the globe.
Yeah.
Just, running around.
And in terms of, like, is this one of those things where you're having to try and remember what happened because you filmed it so long ago, or is it quite present in your life?
I think having worked on it for 5 years, since it's, not since its very inception, because the writer Vic has been working on this inside for tens of years, but as I came to it was 5 years ago. Having worked on it for that long and then having played the character, and she goes through an awful lot, it doesn't leave you for, it's been quite a difficult one to shake off, I think, for both Domhnall and I.
Yeah. And we were talking about when we met, because, I saw you first, I think it was 2008 when you did Margaret Thatcher, The Long Road.
Yes.
Not The Long Road to Freedom, The Long Walk
to Finchley, but similar to the Mandela book. Similar.
I knew it was something like that. So, who had you been before that? Were you plucked fresh from drama school, or had you been kind of doing lots of things? I just hadn't seen you before you did that.
I'd just been a Geordie. Yeah, I mean, I went to RADA. It's the drama school in London. I'd been doing theatre since I was about 9. I had the really great fortune to be part of something called the People's Theatre in Newcastle, which at the time housed the RSC, and it was a sort of lots of professional actors it was an amateur theatre that professional actors went to play at when they were resting.
Yeah. Which is an amazing experience.
It was an absolutely extraordinary experience. Actors like Pete Postlethwaite on stage, and I just a really, really wonderful experience. And we got to do a lot of old writing and new writing and all sorts of things.
And did they kind of encourage? Did they go to you there? You're good at this. You should pursue this.
I think when you sort of see yourself playing, people want you to be in things. I sort of was cast in things.
Yeah, so you kind of thought, I know I'm quite good at this. You can say that. You must have. You must have. Yeah, it's weird they keep asking me to be in things. I'm so bad.
You're your own worst critic, aren't you? Because you watch things, and you think, oh my god.
But I think when you're young, when you're a kid, you can kind of accept, because there's a pride in when you're a kid. You can kind of go, oh, I found the thing I'm good at. No.
In a sense, I think the thing that really drew me to it was literature. I just absolutely loved Shakespeare as a kid, which obviously is quite a lonely experience in the Northeast. Although a valuable one.
Yes.
And I had a T-shirt that said Willpower on it with William Shakespeare's head on it, which I'm sure everyone appreciated hugely at school.
Always at the parties, Andrea.
But really, really just, loved literature, and that's really kind of what drew me into it. And then going to RADA, strangely, so I did a lot of theatre, then went to RADA, and then that was the springboard that sort of really, then I started to do a lot of film, and that's kind of how I started to make films. And so I had 2 very small parts with 2 brilliant directors in film. One was Mike Leigh and one was Roger Michelle, and blink and you'll miss me in the films, but it was, for me, it was a massively formative experience. And that's kind of how I started to make other films.
And then we met in a very strange part of your life. A very strange part in all of our lives.
You are singularly the only man who's ever asked me to do an impersonation of Madonna in front of Madonna.
Well, you did. You are very good. You are a very good actor. And I'd heard you did do one.
I mean, well...
Because she... that
but
was,
you see, before
wasn't
that...
Wasn't that when her voice was weird?
She didn't know that before that.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
I mean, with the most love. She's so amazing. She's such a brilliant woman. But
we should remind people you played Wallace Simpson in W.E., which is the Madonna movie.
I did,
Yeah.
and then you asked me to muster an impersonation of her on the couch, and I looked across to her, and she looked at me, and she said something under her breath like, "Go ahead." You know, something, and I remember just bracing myself somewhere deep in my loins and thinking, "This is, please God, be with me." And then I took a breath in and spoke, and then I sort of had an out of body experience for quite some time. And then the show was over, and I thought, I have no idea what happened there. But it's all Graham's fault.
She's a great woman. Not a great sense of humour, I'd say. Not one of life's laughers.
I've laughed so much with her. We laughed so much making that film because it was.
That's good.
I mean, it was such a massive, epic piece that we were making all over the place, filmed in lots of different countries, and we just would kill ourselves laughing regularly.
I mean, but also one of those things, like an amazing experience, like
amazing,
never to be repeated.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, just one of those strange moments where you think, am I living this, or am I watching it? What's happening?
And again, you were brilliant in it. And listen, we're out of time, but let's just remind everybody, Alison Jack is the name of the show you need to be watching. It's Andrea Riseborough and Domhnall Gleeson together on Channel 4 in February. Thank you so much for coming in and taking some time out of your Saturday to chat to us. Lovely, lovely to see you again.
Thank you so much, Graham.
Virgin Radio.